people. Hello. Let's see what it's going to be. Let's see who's going to join me here. Let me see if I can. Something about this lighting over her. Live. Who knows what's going to happen? Okay. Well, I said I was going to come on here live on Saturday the 31st on Halloween and have a little conversation about Eve's Bayou, the film. And so I hope you all had a chance to rewatch. I'm going to just, wait for some people to show up if people do. Otherwise, I'll have the recording. So I rewatched it and it was great. Was that coming on? Matthew? Okay. It was great to rewatch it. It was great, especially to look at it through the lens of 2020 and so many of the things that we're talking about more in the media. So many more Black people are talking about these, what used to be called alternative spiritualities, right? African-based spiritualities and religions and such. So it's good to look at that film again and be like, wow, you know what? We have been talking about these things and these practices for a long time. And I mean, it's not a new movie. It just reminds us we've been talking about this for a long time. People in our families have been doing this kind of thing for a long time. Somebody said I didn't get a chance to watch it again. I did get into my Hoodoo tarot though. Great. We'll go back and watch it, when you have time. But I'm just saying it's good to go back with another lens now and look at it like, wow, how far we've come or not. But just, a couple of things before we really jump into talking about the movie per se that I also wanted to mention is Halloween, obviously All Hallows Eve, which means, some people get all scary. Some people, I see on my social media timelines, people are like, oh, this is a pagan holiday and this is about worshiping the devil. The whole traditional thing people say. And I'm like, oh, as much progress as we make, there's still people who say that kind of thing. And on somebody's comment today, he said it was pagan. I said, all religion is pagan. Pick your pagan. Because everything's mixed. There's no such thing as pure religion. You know what? It's just the way that people do what they do. Anyway, there's always that. But Halloween, what we call Halloween, is All Hallows Eve. And it is just a recognition, right? Before the institutional Christian churches spread across Europe, those Europeans had their own practices, of course, like everybody all over the world. People have their own indigenous practices. And those Europeans did too. And so they recognize that there is a non-physical world out here. They recognize that. And that at certain times, you could communicate more with them than at other times. And so they said, or we say in our language, that the veil is thinner between All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day, Dia de los Muertos, that the Latinos practice, many Latinos. We recognize there is a time and a place where we can commune with the non-physical, be it our own ancestors or whatever energies you want to communicate with. Yes, a lot of those things can be done. They are done. They can be done. If you're a person who practices hoodoo, practices magic, practices a lot of these things, people pay attention to the stars. They pay attention to the cycles of the moon because that's what lets you know when it's time to do what. Do you want to be effective with what you do, with what you practice? Then you follow the cycles of nature, right? And so, people get all weirded out like, oh no, you're worshiping Satan and you're worshiping the dead. We're not worshiping Satan. We're not, it's a whole religion called Satanists. If somebody want to worship Satan, they could just join that. Anyway, so I just wanted to say, you might have some rituals. It's also a full moon. It's a full moon in Taurus right now. I was staring up at it in the sky last night, and I was like, this is a really beautiful, bright moon. It's really, just be mindful. Be mindful. Part of practicing an indigenous religion or indigenous spirituality is that you're in tune with things. You're in tune with nature. You're in tune with your own inner knowledge, your own intuition. Now, how are you going to be in tune if you don't ever look up and look around? I always tell my students, look up and look around. You got your phone, you just look in the phone all the time. Look up and look around at what's going on in the world, in the environment around us. What is nature doing? What is nature showing us? What is nature teaching us at any given moment? So there's that. And I just was going to share with y'all. I mean, like right now, I'm looking at my ancestor altar. It's in back of my computer. Um, and I've lit the candles and put out fresh water. And I'm wearing my mother's ring. I don't have very much left. My mother passed away when I was, gosh, about 20 years old. I was a junior in college. And anyway, she had a lot of jewelry, and I only have this one thing remaining. I don't know if you can even see it that well. It's an M, and this doesn't have anything to do with her other than our last name is Martin, but her name was Catherine. And I never understood why she had this ring. I used to ask her all the time, why do you have that ring with an M on it? And she'd say, don't you know your last name? And I'd say, yeah, but because she's divorced from my father by that time. So I said, why would you? And it was like a new ring. And I said, well, why would you have a ring with your ex-husband's last name on it? Anyway, I never understood why she had this ring. And it was so not her style because she would have, I mean, she was a very fancy person. She wore a lot of jewelry, a lot of makeup. She loved to go to get her hair done. She was just very much into those kind of really very girly things. I get that from her. And so this is not a ring that she would have really chosen for herself. I don't think it didn't have enough bling. Wasn't really. It looks like it's not even expensive. But in any case, it's funny because in the end, this is what I have of her, is this particular ring. And so I say that we share it. I leave it on the altar next to her picture. And some days I wear it and some days I leave it there for her. So anyway, this might be a time when you want to pay particular attention to your own ancestral lineage, light some candles, go out in the moonlight tonight. If you have some crystals, let your crystals be in the moonlight. Just put them on your windowsill, or if you have a space around you where you can just put your crystals outside in the moonlight and charge them. Also, though, since it is a time of, the non-physical, the veil being thinner, you might want to think about, protection. And so you have black stones. I just dropped it, y'all. Obsidian, onyx, something like that. Also, you might want to get your black candles. Remember, I keep saying to y'all, now is a good time to get your black candles or your orange candles because around Halloween is when stores carry them regularly. It's more challenging to find black candles and orange candles during the rest of the year. Like in the middle of the summer, I'll say, well, do you have your black candles? And people will say, I can't hardly find a black candle. Right now is a good time to get your black candles. And salt, so, a hoodoo practice, well, a lot of traditional indigenous practices in terms of protecting your entryways to your house, your doorways. People would have a salt mixture. And so I have a jar of salt, like a decorative jar. If you came in, you wouldn't necessarily know what exactly it was. But if you have eyes to see, you see. It's a decorative jar, actually. And it has salt in it and some black crystals and some sharp objects. You can put some sharp objects in it. So I think it has some little tacks and some push pins and staples. So, the idea is something that's has some grip to it. Everything in these spiritualities and these practices is not cute and pretty and harmless. It's not. And, some people on here making their own videos about witchcraft and all kinds of alternative spiritualities, but they make it seem like it's all cute and they're just on here making cute videos. But as we saw in Eve's Bayou, it's not all cute. It can be dangerous. And do you realize that? That's why we say don't dabble, don't play with stuff, right? And we could just talk about Eve's Bayou. How is it that Daddy ended up dying? So y'all can, write me here. Oh, sorry, put that right in front of the camera lens. Watching with my daughter tonight. Watched it again last night. I appreciate y'all. And then showing up here. How exactly is it that Louis Baptiste ends up dying in Eve's Bayou? Is it just by happenstance? Okay, he was having an affair with one of the women in the neighborhood, and her husband just. So if you haven't, well, I'm just have to say a spoiler alert, because this is what this is. We're talking about this movie, so spoiler alerts. If you haven't ever seen it, then maybe you want to go away and come watch the replay of this talk that I'm doing right now, because I have to talk about the whole thing and say what happened. So, spoilers. The father, I mean, and she announces in the first scene, right? She's like, this was the year that I killed my father. And then the story unfolds in terms of how her father ends up dying. Well, in the meantime, she said, I said a little girl put it into motion with her conversation, right? Right? She put it into motion, and y'all know that's Journey Smollett, right? You know, that's Journey Smollett. I don't know if she's pronounced it Smollett, who's also in Lovecraft right now as a grown woman. And just to say, I just started watching Lovecraft, y'all. We can come around and talk about that later. I know I'm late to talk watching Lovecraft, but I just started watching Lovecraft this past week. I'll probably finish it this weekend because, once you start, it's hard to stop. But again, we see that in Eve's Bayou, she is born into an environment. They're in New Orleans, right? Or just outside New Orleans. They're in Louisiana. She's born into an environment where it's just known, it's commonplace that some people have certain gifts. Come to find out, she's stepping into her own gifts of sight. Her auntie, Moselle, has the gift. And some of the family says she's crazy. But then they're like, well, she might be crazy, but she also right. Her visions are right. Her visions are true. And sometimes that's the case, because it's a thin line between, or it can be a thin line between being extremely spiritually gifted and what the society is going to call crazy. Because you really are navigating between multiple worlds, between multiple dimensions and densities. It's a lot going on out here in this world. People, if you limit it to only what you can see, you operating at a deficit, And so some people have gifts. Some of you, you have gifts. You're psychic. You see things, you hear things, you know things. Well, in some environments, people will just tell you you're crazy, you're making it up, you want attention, whatever it is people say. But in the movie, the little girl is born into a family and in a whole community where people know that these things exist. Moselle is a healer. What she calls herself? She calls herself a psychic counselor. As I said, she's the reader. She's the healer. She's a psychic counselor. She makes a distinction between herself. This is Moselle. I'm talking about the auntie. And y'all know that was Angie from All My Children. Who all recognize Angie from All My Children? From back in the day. Debbie Morgan, that actress who played Moselle in Eve's Bayou, was famous for her role on All My Children a long time ago. But she makes a distinction between herself as a psychic counselor and the role played by Diane Carroll, who she calls her a sideshow attraction. But the environment, what I'm trying to get at is, people want to act like these things have not existed, or these things have been, something that wasn't real, I guess is what I want to say. And it's not, it's in the culture. You have to be a certain age to know All My Children. I know, well, I am a certain age. Anyway, we want to act like these things haven't been part of who we are as a culture, or these things haven't been part of our own families. And we know good and well that they have been. And so if somebody got ready, especially when you were living in the South, this takes place, what Eve's Bayou looks like is what, the 1950s? You definitely knew who to go to put roots on somebody, as they would say, right? Or stay away from so-and-so because she'll put roots on you. And usually it was a woman, right, who got called a witch, right? Or a root worker, or a conjurer, whatever. But people respected her in the sense that, well, you might not like her, you might not really believe in it, but you stay away. You give her her respect. You give her her due. So in the movie, at Eve's Bayou, we see Moselle, right? And we see she's in her role as a psychic counselor. And you'll know the scene where she has people coming to her And she gives a particular prescription. And I wrote it down because I said, oh, let me see what this is. And I forget which woman it was, but it really is just one scene in the movie where it shows her having clients. And so she's in her parlor and she's having, I guess it was maybe 2 or 3 different women come see her. And she said, I can't remember, if it was the woman who lost the money. Somebody took her money or whatever. And so she said, here, get yourself a chamois cloth. She opens her box, right? And she gives her this prescription. Here's a chamois cloth, and get you a lodestone and John the Conqueror root, some devil shoestring, and put 5 drops of holy water in your hand. And I said, that's a mojo bag. What y'all know about a mojo bag? Anybody know about a mojo bag? I got one, but you don't show it. And she told her, keep it close to your skin. You don't show it. So also a lot of people on here meaning on YouTube or various, I guess on the internet in general, show their work or they show their rituals. You don't show everything. And a mojo bag, in fact, if people see it, some people will say, oh, if people have seen it, it's dead. They'll say it's dead. So you got to start over. And, it's not something that you make public. Why would you want to take the source of your power, your energy, and make it public? You don't do that. So anyway, I just thought, well, that's interesting for Moselle. She really is something that she really takes to heart. And she gives these prescriptions like, this is what you do. And so Journey Smollett, well, I can't remember her character name. I just saw the movie and I really can't remember her name. She sees Auntie doing this and she knows that, oh, this is true. And then as we see in the movie, she's growing into her own gifts too, right? Now, I also think it's interesting because y'all know, or you might not know, I teach African American history. And Eve, wow. I must have been tripping for a moment there, Eve. Okay, I must have been tripping. Was I thinking of the older daughter or something, trying to remember her name? Because obviously Eve. But thank you for helping me. Anyway, you may or may not know, I teach African American history and I teach African American religions. And so I always appreciate when you get to see the history of things woven into a story, even if it's not like directly and beating you up. So what do y'all think? Did you noticed some of the people in the family have that red hair? Now they're in Louisiana, and Eve says right from the beginning she's named after that first Eve, right, who got with Baptiste, right, and had how many children? She said 12 children. And so some of them have that red hair. And so I said, oh, this is interesting because what we're seeing here is a legacy of America's slave history. And we knew that there would be, white slave owners, white men who are having families basically with black women. And that today we still see the remnants of that, right? We still see in our own genetics, in our own appearance, we see the mark of the white person who was in our family, right? Like, I'm sure all you got light-skinned people in the family. You got people with light eyes or wavy hair. In my family, got light-skinned people and some people with, well, my grandmother had really light eyes, but toward her later years, she basically had hazel eyes, and by her later years, they appeared mostly brown. But looking at earlier pictures of her, she had really light hazel eyes. In any case, you know what I'm getting at, right? Like, we know in our own family units and looking at other black people, we can even tell other black people are black when white people can't tell they're black, right? Like some really light-skinned person with red hair and freckles, and white people like, oh, I guess they're from South America, from Brazil. They're like, that's Ray Ray from down the street. Because the legacy, we're aware of it. We were plugged into it. Those were our lives. Those were the lives of our ancestors, our grandmothers, our grandfathers passed down to us. And we know that some of our family, look at it, holiday, Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, or just dinner after church or whatever, some of the family were light skinned. And some of them went off to only make children with other light skinned people to keep the light skin. So it was interesting in the movie to see the red hair thing, right? The red hair um, passed on from that Baptiste person. And then also what's passed on is the gift of sight, the psychic ability, so that Eve has it. And she's telling us, I'm named after, right? I'm named after her. So it's a whole familial thing going on. Okay, now what's the older daughter's name? That's the one who I was blanking on, y'all. The older daughter's name and what she had going on. Her hero worship of her daddy, which is not unusual. Some little girls get really attached to their daddy, and that's why we have the phrase "daddy's girl." And she wasn't getting enough attention from daddy, and so it's a whole scenario there. Then some other things went wrong in that relationship, but it's not unusual. Hero worship of the daddy, of the father. But back to this point. First of all, the other, what do we want to call her, y'all? The root worker, who little Eve goes to. The root worker she's all out at the table at what looks like some sort of, I don't know, a fair or just a, what do you call that, a farmer's market. And her face is painted white, like they do in Vodun. So we really got two traditions happening here. You've got some Hoodoo and you've got some Vodun. Now, because it's New Orleans, I'm going to lean towards the Vodun because it was, the French Catholicism made for the mixing, right? The French Catholicism made for the mixing of the African and the Catholic. Now you mix the African and the French Catholic and you get Vodun. You see it in Haiti, you see it in the United States and Louisiana. And you heard they were speaking French half the time because it was a Frenchman who had owned their family at some point. My family is like that, no darker than a brown paper bag, right? Or the comb test. Y'all see, I cut my hair off. Sorry, the lighting is really bad over here in my corner. I think I have to really record in the evening because the lighting is better. But in any case, no fine comb is getting through this hair, short or long. And my grandmother who was fair and who had light eyes, and she would say, well, I'm glad you didn't get your father's color because he was very dark. But you did get his hair. That's too bad. But anyway, we grew up hearing that kind of thing, right? But anyway, back to my point about Vodun being in Louisiana and us calling it voodoo. Because the French Catholics are the ones who brought African people and ended up in Louisiana, ended up in Haiti. And so the particular mix of the African religion that we see in Louisiana is what we call Vodun. So voodoo is not devil worship, it's African religion. And if you've been with me on this channel, I talk about that all the time. So to just get it clear, it's African religion. And it's black people who are the main ones calling our own African traditions devil worship. Because the colonizer has colonized our minds, has enslaved our minds so that we think our own is bad and wrong. And some Christians, I'm writing an article, this article probably come out in January, about this very thing, how it's Christians, some evangelical Christians are the harshest critics of African spirituality today. Because we've been told you need Jesus, you need this white Jesus, and everything your people were doing before that is wrong and bad and heathenish and uncivilized. And so if you want to be civilized, if you want to be respected in this country, you have to give up all your African anything. Right? But we have pockets all over the world, but we talk about the United States, we have pockets where we still see our African. And Louisiana is one of those places where it's really mixed. So you saw that family, they speak French and English, because that's what you do. You went back and forth. It all blended together. Spanish also. And so I love going to New Orleans because there's still so much of these cultures just apparent, just on the surface, in the way people speak, and the food they eat, in the music. I don't know if you caught that music when they were dancing pretty early in the movie. There's a party at the house and they're dancing to Zydeco music. Any of y'all know about Zydeco? If you go spend time in Louisiana, you'll hear Zydeco music. And I love Zydeco. It's dance music, basically, of, I guess you say the backwoods people from Louisiana. But it's that mixture of the European, the Native American, and the African. And so when you go to Louisiana, all of this is on the surface. And it's in the religion. It's in the way people practice their religions. Black people, you've heard of Marie Laveau. If you had asked her what religion is she would say Catholic. But she was out doing her African practices too. You just mix it together, of course you do. But as some evangelical Christians who say you can't mix it together, it has to be 100% Jesus. There is no, that's why all religions are pagan. We're going to come up on Christmas, pagan. We're going to come up on Easter, pagan. The two high holy days of Christianity are the most thoroughly pagan. Because we have to understand that pagan doesn't even mean bad. It's become the meaning bad. It just meant what the other people were doing. That's what you call the religion that other people were doing, or people in the backwoods who don't have good religion. They don't have institutional religion. You call that pagan. But anyway, back to our little Eve, and she goes to see Diane Carroll. That's what I'm calling her. It's her the actress, right? Y'all know that's Diane Carroll with her face painted. And you might say, is she a positive character or is she a negative character? Because she takes this little girl's money and does some work for her. First of all, Eve asked her auntie, Moselle, how do you kill somebody with voodoo? Because she's mad at daddy. She's mad at daddy because daddy hurt her older sister. Well, this is a story she has in her head, right? Daddy hurt my older sister, and I'm going to protect my older sister. And I see my sister is so hurt, I'm going to protect her from daddy. And so she just goes and asks her auntie, how do you kill somebody with voodoo? And what make a child, and Auntie Mo says, what make you say that, right? What make any child say that unless they're already aware? They're already aware of stuff that's going on, right? And then she knew who to go back and ask, like, okay, Auntie Moselle's not telling, or, although Auntie Moselle did threaten her before and said, I'll kill you. Told her, I'll kill you, dog. Don't make me hurt you, little girl. I was aware at 7. I don't know how. I can't see that said Janelle. You don't know how? You don't know how you became aware? Just ask that. Type in there some more. You didn't know how you became aware. You just were aware. You just knew what you knew, or you knew that you knew, but you didn't know how you knew. But little Eve, she's aware that there's things you can do, right? Yeah, she says. There's things that you could do that are non-physical. There's ways of manipulating energies. And so Auntie Moselle wasn't telling. So she took the $20 and she went over to the lady, the root worker, the mambo, because that's what you call them in Vodun, the mambo for a woman, and gives her the $20. So what do you make of mambo, Diane Carroll? Because we might say, that's real. Like, you really just gonna kill your father? Like, kill him dead? Which Mambo asks her, are you sure? Are you sure? And she says, yes. And so Mambo goes to work. And see, even though I'm conflicted about it, because I think, Mambo, you shouldn't, first of all, she's a child and, has temperamental emotions and whatever. And, maybe you shouldn't take her as a client because she's a child. But at the same time, I appreciated the presence of her in the film doing it, because it does show that the mambo or the hoodoo conjurer person is not, they're the keepers of the knowledge, of the wisdom, of the neutral energy. When you come to them, you bring your intention. You make it good or bad. You're the one who's steering the ship at that point, right? Because the conjurer, the hoodoo doctor, the mambo has the knowledge. They know what to do, but I'm just sitting here at my table at the farmer's market, right? Minding my business. Watching you little girl steal pineapples. What you call a pineapple thief. I'm minding my business. You show up and pay me money and make a request that I kill somebody for you. So if any blame is to go around, maybe it's on the person who comes with the petition. And it's to say, well, the reason I say I appreciated being in the film is to remind us all that we're responsible. We have to take personal responsibility, and that these things are not for play. It's not cute and pretty. Because, at a certain point, little Eve goes back to her and says, she was expecting her to make a voodoo doll for her, and then she would be able to go home and, I guess, torment her father. I guess that's what it came down to in her mind, how she thought it was going to happen. Oh, Mambo's going to make me a voodoo doll. I'm going to go home and torment him, and maybe I'll kill him. But no, Mambo, she goes back and asks Mambo, well, when is this going to happen? When are you going to give me the doll? And Mambo's like, it's done. It's done. I'm surprised he's not dead already. Well, look for him to be dead in any moment. And it's shocking. It's shocking because, again, this is a grown woman who took money from a child, who entered into this transaction with a child. We may be like, she shouldn't have. But see, the energies are neutral. So whatever you start, whatever you put your intention into, when you put that out, you spoke that into existence. And you ask somebody else to help you put that into motion. And so then the whole scenario happens at the bar, right? There's Daddy with this other woman again. There's Daddy out catting around with this same woman at the bar. And wasn't it kind of messed up that Eve, when she was still at the farmer's market, and the husband, played by Roger Guinevere Smith, she planted seeds in his head of jealousy. She kind of knew that this man was already jealous about his wife and her father. And she planted some more seeds. Because she was like, oh, he said he teaches at the college. And she says, oh, well, you must get home. You must not get home till real late. Or you must not come home at all sometimes, huh? So he's like, well, yeah, sometimes I stay on campus. Oh, so your wife must be real lonely. Yeah, my daddy gets lonely too. Yeah, my daddy don't come home too sometimes. She was doing that's shady. Okay. Anyway, at a certain point, it dawns on her, I got to go look out for my daddy now. Let me go look out for my daddy. And so she goes and runs to the bar, finds him there. Come on, Daddy, let's go home. Come on, Daddy, we got to go home. And then she sees, the husband. And she's like, oh, we got to go, right? So then this scenario unfolds, and Daddy ends up getting shot. Also, Daddy was picking at him, right? The energy there in New Orleans is so strong. The first time I was there, I couldn't even get out the car. It is. Also in Savannah, Georgia, which was where I tend to go a lot for my hoodoo research. But here we see in Eve's Bayou, this death. Her father dies in what you might say, well, it's a barroom brawl over the fact that he was cheating. So that didn't have nothing to do with voodoo or magic. Now you could say that. But what Mambo already said was she put him in a coffin. And I thought that was really interesting because people who know about that ritual, that's a real life ritual. That's a real ritual. When they, if some practitioner wants somebody to go, that's a ritual. They put it in the, it could even be a situation that you want to come to an end. It don't have to be a person actually being killed, but a situation that you want to come to an end, like a marriage. You want your marriage to be over? Put some stuff in there and put it in a coffin and bury it. Right? And some ritual you do with that too. I'm not trying to say all that on YouTube. With some rituals. And so the fact is, Mambo said, well, it's already done. It's already done. I already put him in the coffin, is in the ground. And then the way things play out, the way energies play out, the way a spell will work out, or the way magic will manifest is in the path of least resistance. Y'all, I got like wind blowing on my face here. The path of least resistance, because you figure, well, how did she expect Daddy to die? Was it going to be something like a meteor fell out the sky, or was it going to be, something extraordinary out the blue? Oftentimes, no, it's going to be the path of least resistance, meaning however you living already, meaning the places you already go, the things you already do, that's where the thing will manifest and will find you. It's the path of least resistance because this is an energetic universe. Things operate by vibration. So things match up according to what you're already doing. Daddy was already in a situation that could easily lead to his demise. And so Lil Eve and Mambo just put some stuff together and made it come together in a day when it might not have. It might not have, because Daddy could have just went on home. Could have went on home with Eve. When that man said, if you so much as ever speak to my wife again, I'll kill you. Right? Because he's like, okay, we're not going to fight right here, right now in the bar. But if you so much as speak to my wife again, I will kill you. And they walk outside, about to go their own way, right? About to go their own way. But see, Daddy's ego. See, the path of least resistance, right? That's how it would get to you. Because he could have went on. But no, he had to say good night to her. And he just pulled out his gun, like, what I tell you? And shot him. So anyway, that's how the thing go. And I see I hope this is still going, because I see like it looked like the live feed might be getting interrupted here. Good evening. What other movies on this topic are there? Aphrodite, is that what that says? Daughters of the Dust is a good one. It takes place in in Georgia, South Carolina area. Hoodoo Country is what we call it. And that's primarily where I do my research, because I really I practice hoodoo. I'm a scholar. I'm a religion scholar, in case you're not normally on my channel. I'm a religion scholar, and I teach African and African diaspora religions. And so I do research in the Low Country, which is South Carolina, Georgia, and northern Florida, particularly Savannah. I go there often as I can, but nowadays I can't go. Can't really get to Georgia. So the Skeleton Key, somebody put, yes, thank you. That's also a good one. So anyway, the other one was called Daughters of the Dust by Julie Dash, and it's several years old now, but it's really, really good. You see, it's set in like the early 20th century, early 1900s, Black family, and you see this kind of in that film, a kind of tension between the old ways and the new way. They got grandma who's still making mojo bags and stuff, right? And holding on to the old traditions, the ancestral ways. And then the younger generation some of whom want to move to the city, of course. They want to come up from out the country and go to the city. And so there's a lot of that story, a lot of that tension in that story, but it's beautifully done. Like just the cinematography is absolutely beautiful. Really highlighting the skin tones, black people's skin tones really beautifully, the hair, like people were, the beautiful, just natural hair, the beach. I mean, it's beautiful. So just watch it. Someone said the Skeleton Key, that's really good too. A little scarier, though, I have to say. So if you are somebody who's scary, just know. But now that I think about it, I might want to watch it again myself. And then I just saw last night, I didn't watch it, but I saw on, what is the name of that? On Amazon Prime, there's a new movie with Omari Hardwick coming out. And I just saw the description and it said something like he gets trapped by a hoodoo woman. I said, what? Now, Omari Hardwick, y'all know, yes, fine, Omari Hardwick, from Power. If you were watching the series Power, he's in this movie. And it seemed like, the description seemed like, did y'all remember that old movie Misery? From the Stephen King book Misery, and it was made into a movie. This description of this movie seemed like, I think it's called Spell. Okay. Yeah, and it seems like he's somehow held captive by this woman, and she's working some hoodoo on him. So I probably will watch. I'm gonna watch it, but sometimes, y'all, I'm scary. Like I can't watch scary things and then call myself going to bed. And part of that is because the kind of dreams I have. Like I'm clairaudient. I hear things. Like some people are clairvoyant. I've seen this. It's scary. It's out of me. Oh. Well, then I don't know. I see. I have to watch it now. Like sometimes I have to watch scary stuff in the middle of the day, shades open, so it takes down some of the scary factor for me. I know some people really like it, but I have, because I'm sensitive in that way. I already have very vivid dreams. I already like have out of body experiences. I'm telling you a whole lot of my business, but I already do astral traveling, out of my body kind of stuff. So I know I can't go to bed with that like fresh. That's why I came and watched Lovecraft Country all, binge at once, because I'll be dreaming about that stuff and I cannot have that as it is. I cannot have that. So, and for days, y'all, not even for just like, oh, one night. No, it'll linger. So, yeah, I will be scared all night. Exactly. I will be scared all night. So anyway, I'm just saying, take care of yourself if you know that you're scary, and then watch it with other people or in the daytime or something, like I have to do like a little kid. But you know what? Every holiday, Halloween season, people always say on social media, "What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?" And people come up with whatever. But I said, you know what? It's still the scary. What do y'all think? What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? You could just type in there. Oh, it's 42 minutes. I got to go. Act like I don't have nothing else to do. The scariest movie to me still is The Exorcist. That is the scare. I won't watch that movie again. And it's, yes, The Exorcist. Weren't in the Rainbow. I don't know what that says. The Serpent and the Rainbow? Yeah, Serpent and the Rainbow. Yes, that was a good one too, especially along the lines what we're talking about now, voodoo, although of course, the way people depict voodoo, you have to be mindful of the images that we get and remember that this is really our African religion, but it's been distorted. But, as far as scary movies, yes, never again will I watch. Wait, never again will you watch Serpent and the Rainbow or The Exorcist? I'm never watching. I probably won't watch neither of those anymore. For a good treatment on voodoo, Jaimin Hunsu has a film. It's a documentary. Y'all know Jaimin Hunsu, that actor, an African actor from Amistad, and he used to be in Janet Jackson's video. Exorcist too. Yes, I know who you are. I recognize it. Yeah. So Jaimin Hunsu has a film, a documentary, which is a really good, real portrayal of Vodun, because he is from some people in Africa where he he does a pretty good job. And I'm getting ready to look up in case anybody else I'm getting ready to look up Jaimin Hunsu's the name of the movie. I don't know why I can't think of the name of these things right now. But it was a documentary. I shouldn't say, keep saying there's a movie. It's a documentary, so you can actually learn from it. But something like The Exorcist, y'all. And this will give away my age too. So I was a kid when that came out. I was about 7 years old when that movie came out in the 70s. And I didn't have no business going to see it. But I begged and pleaded because I like scary movies. I mean, to me, when I was a kid, what I meant by scary movies, I meant the scary movies that came on Saturday afternoon TV, like Dracula, black and white Dracula, like that. That was my scary movie. And I like those kind of movies, you know, those old Frankenstein movies and stuff like that. Um, so when The Exorcist came out, I was like, oh, yeah, I want to see that. I want to see that. And I begged my mother. Really, the only reason she let me go was because my two little friends, they were sisters, their parents were going to take them to the drive-in. I don't know why their parents thought that would be a good idea, but anyway, you know, so now to me, that seemed like fun. I get to go to the drive-in with my two, you know, friends, my neighbor girls. It's fun. We're going to be in the drive-in. We can get popcorn. You know, it's fun. So really, I just wanted to go to the drive-in, I think, with them. And so it was a scary movie. So I was like, yay. Anyway, my mother said, no, that's a really scary movie. You don't want to see it. You don't want to. How about some real life scary stories? Oh, gosh, no. Yeah, see. I don't want to watch no slasher or serial killer movies. No. Anyway, I begged my mother. She said, oh, you're not going to be able to, if you come home and you get scared, you're not going to be able to come and get in my bed with me. Don't get in the bed with me. And I said, okay. And I went to that movie and I came home. Well, first of all, my friend's father, he's driving a car. He teased us the whole way home. We all lived in the same apartment complex. He teased us and made, you know, scaring us the whole way home. And so I was so shook by that movie, y'all. I was shook, but I didn't really know what I was looking at. And I think that saved me as from being as a kid. I was so young that I didn't quite know what I was looking at. I was just scared, like, oh my God, what is this? So I got home and my mother said, well, you know, how are you? How's the movie? And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that movie. It was like I couldn't even really compute it all. And I remember I asked her, I said, well, could that really happen? And she said, no, that would never happen. And I was like, are you sure that couldn't happen to me? And she said, no, I wouldn't let that happen to you. Nothing like that could happen to you. And I was fine. I was able to go on to bed like, okay, well, my mama said that can't happen, so I'm good. But watching it, I was like, ooh, this is terrifying. And as I got older, it became even more terrifying. I mean, like a little bit older, like into my maybe late teens, early 20s. It was even more scary because now I was able to understand what's really going on. So at this point, you know, every now and then it'll be on something, it'll be on TV. And it's hokey because we can see through the special effects and everything right now. But it's still scary. I was like, I'm not watching that. I am as old as I am. But I'm not watching The Exorcist. No, thank you. Because you know what? It plays on the mind. That's what I'm saying. It plays on the mind. Then you be trying to sleep. And then other stuff is playing on the mind. As I mentioned to y'all, I have experiences as it is when I'm sleeping. There was a movie a long time ago called One Dark Night. I was really young and watched it, couldn't sleep. Bad Hair. I love horror. I'm going to watch Bad Hair tonight. See, I can't even watch Bad Hair. It looks too scary. I think those movies attract bad spirits. That's why it says you need your black stones and black candles for protection. I found this cute little candle holder for like 99 cents somewhere. But yeah, and you know, in all seriousness, that's why I talked about protection in the beginning was, you know, your salt, what the old folks use, what the hoodoo practitioners use, the salt. This is some, I think this one is, what is this stone? This might be tourmaline, or onyx, or black spinel, whatever, because it absorbs the negativity. So the Jaimin Hunsu documentary is called In Search of Voodoo. So that would be something good to watch. So you get some real information about what Vodun really is. Their actual name is Vodun in the United States. Different parts of the world they call it voodoo because, you know, people don't understand that it's a West African actual religion. So yeah, Jamin Hunsu, y'all know he's fine. So y'all can. He's not actually in it that much. He's kind of narrating as it, but he's in it a little bit. But he's fine. Yeah, I see y'all are into wanting to watch some scary movies. I'm trying to think of what other scary movie. Well, I'm gonna finish Lovecraft, and um, I resisted watching Lovecraft. First of all, I didn't even have HBO, so I just got that, and I was thinking that it was gonna be too scary. But when I started watching it, I said, "Oh, it's kind of monster scary." So that's a different scary to me because it's almost like I can. It's such a fantasy that it's monster scary. But what also makes Lovecraft scary is the terrorism of white supremacy. That's the real horror show, right? And as we live and breathe in 2020, we know that's the real horror show is white supremacy. And I asked somebody the other day, I said, what, a black man, I said, what's scarier to you? A monster who you got to run from, or the Klan burning a cross on your lawn? Because that scene happened in one of the episodes in Lovecraft is, Journey Smollett, once again, she buys this house in a white neighborhood, and the Klan, here come the white people, and have nerve to set the cross on fire and then run off. Just a bunch of cowards, right? Run. But so really, what's scarier? What's scary? That monster who you got a shot at saving your life by running, or white supremacy that's lurking around every corner day and night. Y'all know how it is, lurking around every corner day and night when you're trying to mind your business, you're not even suspecting. Oop, there you are, met with white supremacy. So Lovecraft is good on multiple levels. What else was I going to say about Lovecraft too? Something else. I live in Ohio. I'm from Ohio. When y'all were talking about New Orleans Hoodoo energy, I was thinking it has to be better than this Wicca satanic. I don't know what city you're from. I'm from Cincinnati. Where she showed them though. Salem's Lot. Oh wow, you went way back. Whoo. It has to be better than this Wicca satanic. Well, Wicca is not the same as the satanic. Again, Wicca is, we might say Wicca is European witchcraft, but it's European indigenous spirituality. That's what Wicca is. So the same way that black people get called, it's said about black people worshiping Satan or being witches. It's not that. Wicca is really a religion, right? But then what do you do with it? Is always the thing. It's what do you do with it? Yeah, she showed them that, right? She showed them, she would destroy them cars, right? And then we talking about Lovecraft again. So yeah, so then Journey Smollett's character, because I kept thinking, wow, they set those cars out there with those horns blowing. How long would you? I thought I would have been to smash those car windows. But that's me talking in 2020, right? Because if it was 1955, I might have been too scared. But at a certain point, she's like, I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you, bitches. I'm not scared of you no more. Or my power is this. And remember what also happens in Lovecraft, right? They go and get them a hoodoo woman because, she's told that some stuff went down in her house and that there's some bodies that's been buried in her house. And she goes and gets that voodoo woman, and she comes up there and she sacrifices the goat on the porch. And then they go down in the basement and they having a ceremony. And, one of the names that she called out, the hoodoo woman, was Oya. When she was creating that storm, and Oya is the Orisha of storms. And a whole lot, some other stuff too. Clearing the pathways. Oya is a deity associated with storms that clear out the pathways. But it can be a mild storm, or she can be a very strong storm and destroy everything. So, what we learn about in African spiritualities and talking about African Orisha or Loa is that energy is neutral. How do you use it, or what aspect of it do you tap into? What aspect of it do you call upon? Because Oya could be, a gentle rainstorm that you need. Or it can be a tornado that destroys your whole town. Likewise, when you're doing some sort of work, doing some sort of ritual, what you doing? Are you like Eve and you said, how did you kill somebody? Or do you say, I just need so and so to leave me alone? Like maybe she said, I just need daddy to leave, big sis alone. What's her name? Cicely? Cicely? I just need daddy to leave her alone. That might have been what she said. But she said, how you kill somebody? Anyway, somebody mentioned that movie Salem's Lot. So you went way back for that. I remember that being really scary too. Like, I mean, the memory of it in my mind is like, I wouldn't watch that again. But maybe I would, because I'm curious about it now, because I remember it being good and scary. I remember all those movies. The ones I definitely could watch again, because it wasn't really that scary, was like The Omen. Remember The Omen? And there was a whole bunch of them. Omen 1, Omen 2, Omen 3 was a bunch of them. Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby was good. It was good. I have to give it to you. Girl, you bringing it. You are bringing it. Rosemary's Baby. Now that's a good. I could watch that. I mean, it's very scary, but it's also very good. Because some of these horror movies, it's not about nothing, right? It's just one thing, like a slasher movie and somebody getting chased through the woods or whatever. Wait, I just had a thought. I'm gonna write this down before I forget. And they don't really have a good storyline, and you just come away like, oh, it's just a slasher, and it's gruesome because it's bloody and gory, and I can't stand that kind of stuff. But something like Rosemary's Baby is actually scary, and so you like. Another one, which is it's a psychological thriller. It's an old movie called Wait Until Dark, and it was Audrey Hepburn. This was probably in the 1960s. I remember watching it in high school, and because I had a theater, one of my English teachers was a theater person, and he would have us watching all these movies and plays and stuff. Anyway, we watched Wait Until Dark, and Audrey Hepburn plays a blind woman, and I believe her husband is away, and these people are watching her, and they're trying to get this thing from her, and she doesn't know it, and she sort of starts to figure it out, and it's really good, but it's more of a psychological thriller. And it have you on the edge of your seat, though. It definitely will, because in high school, we were definitely on the edge of our seat, like, oh, wait. So I recommend that. Also, what I noticed in Lovecraft is the depiction of ceremonial magic. So if we go back to talking even a little bit about Wicca, what is this? I just asked for a list of movies with spiritual references, not horror. I can't do horror. Okay, well, go back to Daughters of the Dust. That's good for you. And then this In Search of Voodoo, you could do that because it's a documentary, I think. What was I saying? Okay, so in Lovecraft, there's a whole depiction of ceremonial magic that's going on. That's the White family. So I'm only in episode 4. So in the first, I guess this is like the second and third episode where they meet the White family and they're doing this whole ritual and stuff, and they're trying to learn the language of Adam and all that. That's connected to the Order of the Golden Dawn. And so if you know anything about ceremonial, they call it high magic, high ceremonial magic. It's really European. And so, you might not be familiar with it, but in watching it, because y'all know I'm a scholar and I read everything. Plus my mentor used to be involved with the Order of the Golden Dawn back in the day. And so, he teaches me various things also. And so watching it, I was like, wow, something is really happening in our time now in which we live, where a lot of these things that were considered secret knowledge, secret wisdom, is coming out. Whether it's hoodoo for African people, African diaspora people, whether it's Santeria, whether it's ceremonial magic and Wicca, it's just time. I think the institutional religions have lost their hold on us. A lot of people, especially young people, don't want to be bothered with institutional religion anymore because they recognize that it's a power game. And so they're hungry and they're looking for spiritualities. And a lot of them don't know where to even look, because I teach them, right? I teach Gen Z, these 18 to 20-year-olds. They don't know where to look, so they look everywhere. And so I think it's just interesting that this knowledge that you used to have to apprentice under somebody to get, now is available through the internet or whatever, which is also dangerous because people start dabbling and then end up hurting themselves, end up killing daddy, and you didn't mean to kill daddy. Little Eve. But in this Lovecraft, you get a depiction of ceremonial magic, which is connected to the Order of the Golden Dawn. And if you have any curiosity about that, you can just Google the Order of the Golden Dawn. And even as I say it's European, it's actually African, because of course they took that from the Egyptians and the Kemetic culture, right? So again, if you've been following me here, you know that I talk about the Egyptian and the Kemetic. Egypt itself is a Greek name from Kemet. The real name is Kemet. And so even the things that we're told are European, that come out of the Greco-Roman civilizations, that actually comes out of Africa. And we know that, and even that's starting to become more well known, which I'm happy to say, because I've been studying also. I just started studying this. I have scholar friends of mine who are, really advanced in their scholarship about the Nile Valley civilizations and Nubian and Kemet culture. It's a mouthful. So a lot of what the Greeks and the Romans based their civilization upon were the studying of African wisdom. Because even that Egyptian/Kemet stuff comes from the interior, well, not the interior, but the Sudan, right? So when we talk about Nubian culture or Nile Valley culture, it's more than Egypt. And these cultures fed into what we know as Egypt's glory days. There's more pyramids in the Sudan than in Egypt. There are African black pharaohs, right? There's all this knowledge that's finally coming out. The study of Egyptology has largely been dominated by white people, by Europeans. And the way they've been telling the story about ancient civilizations is to highlight the Greco-Roman and to make Egypt European. But anyway, all of that is African. And so even when we talk about something like ceremonial high magic, and we're talking about the Europeans, they are speaking, the language that they're speaking, Hebrew, right? An African Semitic language. They talk about all of this Egyptian stuff. They've got Egyptian iconography, Egyptian artwork. They are steeped in the Egyptian, which is the African. So, be aware of that too, as you see people talking about, even white people talking about witchcraft, talking about, ceremonial magic. That stuff goes back to Africa. But it's their form of it, so we just give them that and say, well, you know what, that's what the Europeans did with it. And so in Lovecraft Country, you see them practicing some ceremonial magic. And, as I said, you can just Google In Order of the Golden Dawn. I don't know how far back y'all want to go with that, or how expansive you want to go with that. And I mean, I'm not as well versed in that as some other of my colleagues. I do have a video on here on the channel that I did an interview with a colleague of mine. His name is Salim Farji. And if you go through my videos on the channel, you'll see that I did an interview with him, Salim Farji. And he is someone who specializes in Nubian. Do I have his book over here? Yeah. And we had a real good conversation. So he wrote a book called The Roots of Nubian Christianity Uncovered, The Triumph of the Last Pharaoh, the roots of Nubian Christianity. So if you have some interest in that, and again, I'm really just showing this and sharing this because this is really where ceremonial high magic comes from Africa. So I see y'all talking about Omari's new movie talking about misery. Yeah, that's what I said too. I think that's what that is. But anyway, y'all might not want to know about the Kemet and the Nubian and all that because we're on here talking about these things. But actually, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate y'all coming and hanging out with me. It's been just over an hour. I really appreciate it. I know you could be doing other things with your time. Write in the comments any other movies that you can think of and share with other people. Or if you want me to come back on here and do another session with one of these other movies. Granted, not nothing that's too scary, but maybe, I don't know, you tell me what it would be. Or any books that you've read that are really scary. Any books, because sometimes the book, especially Stephen King, I can't even read Stephen King. Mm-mm. When you imagine it in your mind, you read it, you imagine it, it's even worse. You read before you try to go to sleep. Oh no. Oh no. I cannot even be trying to read Stephen King. I don't know, your guidance is needed. Are you finished Lovecraft? I have not finished it, but I plan to. Jessica, I plan to finish it this weekend. I was talked about that I couldn't binge it all at once because I was scared. I needed to go to bed. So I do plan to watch it, finish it by Sunday. I got papers to grade this weekend, y'all, but I always have papers to grade. I always have too many things to do. But yeah, let me know what other movies you'd want to talk about here or anything really. You want to talk some more about ceremonial high magic, you want to talk about whatever. Because it's kind of fun to come on here and do a live as opposed to making a video and just posting it because that's static and. So anyway, any last words? Thank you for Kemet and Nubia Peace. Hoodoo. Now that's what I talk about on all the stations. All my episodes on my videos, Hoodoo. Let me see. I'm trying to think, am I reading a Hoodoo thing right now? Because I'm always reading like 3 books at a time. Let me see what I have on my bookshelf. And for my classes, of course, I have to be reading. The class just finished James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. This don't have nothing to do with that, but y'all know I'm a big, 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 huge James Baldwin fan, and my class just finished that. What's this? I got a bunch of stuff here, y'all. Hoodoo shrines and altars, sacred spaces, and conjuring root work. I think this is this is kind of a how-to. Yeah, this is a how-to. Hoodoo shrines and altars, Miss Phoenix LaFay, sacred spaces and conjure and root work. So if you're interested in like how to put together some basic kind of rituals and things, which by the way, I should mention, I might have mentioned, I'm redoing my website and I'm going to I'm going to actually make my website more focused around these spiritual practices and coaching people, usually it's women, coaching Black women, specifically on the spiritual traditions that we're reclaiming. And so I'm going to have a membership where, to give some specific guidance, some teaching, some coaching, and I'll have a couple of different, tiers in that membership because one will be, sort of a basic level. And then there'll be another membership of, really a more advanced class for that high-end one. I guess I would call it a higher end, more advanced metaphysical group who really want to study with me more deeply. And frankly, that one costs more money because it takes more of my time. I feel, I got to be really responsible. If I'm going to teach you, some things, I got to be more responsible and spend more time with that. Ancient Kemet, I'm reading Dark Light Consciousness. How come the thing goes away? Let me put that thing up. I couldn't see it. Okay, here it is. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Again, I can't see. Where's my glasses? I should have had my reading glasses. So I can read. I have to go back through these comments and look later. But thanks for all the resources that you're sharing with each other. That's great. That's great. So I will let y'all know when the website is ready and I'm actually ready to take people. It'll be in 2021. I can't take on nothing else in 2020. It'll be in the spring that we get started with those kinds of things. Um, but I mean, I suppose that what we could start earlier is like, a book or a movie kind of membership where we come together and talk about these kind of things. And we do that regularly, maybe once a month, twice a month, where we come together and talk about what we've been learning individually, what we've been seeing in movies. Because we got to go watch that one, The Spell with Omari Hardwick, right? We got to go watch that because we at least got to see Omari. Is he naked in this one too, like he was in Power? If it is, it's probably all bad. Also, gosh, I'm thinking of more stuff. American Horror Story. Remember the season? I don't always watch that, but when I do, American Horror Story, that season they did with the Coven, I guess it was, and they had Marie Laveau. That was brutal though. See, I didn't even finish it, I don't think, because it was just brutal. It was just really brutal. But, incorporated a lot of our traditions, a lot of, our stuff. So, what else? This is my short, this is just my little bookshelf. I got multiple bookshelves, y'all. And then I have this one, which I just got. I haven't even opened it. The Magic of Marie Laveau, Embracing the Spiritual Legacy of the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. And I think this might not be, this is probably pretty commercial, y'all, to tell the truth. That's me, I haven't even read it, but I don't know that it's actually going to be that deep or that substantial. So I'll let you know about this one. But y'all, you have your own interests. You might want to follow up. I like metaphysics. It's becoming trendy. I feel like it's becoming trendy, which sucks. People aren't taking it seriously. Exactly. And that's what I take it seriously. I've been doing metaphysics for a long time. This is my book I wrote on New Thought. Holla if you know about New Thought. I take this off. I hope this is not. I've been doing this for years. And so, yeah, as things become trendy, people just hop on a bandwagon. They do things halfway. They don't really know what they're doing, and they can hurt themselves or others. I'm somebody who, I stay up late at night reading a whole bunch of books. I read, I study, I write. I'm a scholar. I mean, I got a whole master's and PhD degrees in the study of religion and spirituality. So you already know I'm in for the long haul. But some people, they just dabble. Some people are like, oh, I just want to learn how to manifest. Manifesting has become trendy. Oh, I just want to know how to manifest a new car. I just want to know how to manifest a man. I just want to know how to manifest this. It's a whole system to these things. And we've lost, people want things quick. They want to download instant. They want instant gratification, not realizing that it took people lifetimes to acquire this kind of knowledge. Lifetimes. You apprenticed yourself to somebody. And you worked with somebody to educate yourself and learn how to work with these energies, learn how to do ceremonial magic if that's what you were going to do. Now you can go on the internet and find out how to do what's called the LBRP, Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. That's all over the internet, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. It's a ritual. But it used to be, it was shared among people who had already committed themselves to a certain kind of spiritual practice and spiritual life. Now, when you just sprinkle things out through the culture, through the world, people don't know what they're doing. And then they complain later, especially I see young girls, their videos when they're talking about how to manifest this or that. I'm like, you don't know what you're doing. And so when it doesn't go your way, because sooner or later it's not going to go your way, then you'll be wanting to say, oh, it doesn't work. Then they'll be making videos that say, well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. All this manifesting stuff, it doesn't work. It doesn't work to manifest. We manifest 24/7. We manifest 24/7. But if you're just playing at it, you don't know what you're doing. Anyway, yeah, I got to go. I got the next thing to move off to. As I said, I appreciate you. Please leave me comments. Give me a thumbs up. I see some people gave me a thumbs up. Please give a thumbs up if you like this, if this is the kind of way that you like to learn, get to communicate with each other. And as I said, I got more stuff coming. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Bye for now, people.